Today on the Topping Show, Shiloh Hendrix goes viral for calling a child and alleged thief the N-word and raises over $300,000 on Give, Send, Go in the first couple days alone. Forever 21 to close down all their stores. Matt Walsh says that gays should not be able to adopt children. NPR says the Declaration of Independence contains offensive language. And Ford recalls the Bronco yet again, now 15 times. All of that and much more on the Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free Flamethrower with every IT purchase with Picatinny rail adapter, so you can mount it to any standard AR-15 like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the Flamethrower button to learn more and see me shooting a flamethrower. And lastly, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends and your enemies, I would greatly appreciate it. Now going over to the business part of the podcast, you have Forever 21. Rest in peace. They will no longer be Forever, neither 21, as they file for bankruptcy and close down this time for good. Now, this is brought to us thanks to USA Today, which somehow actually is still in business. Back in my day, I read that newspaper in college, which dated me in several ways. Back when newspapers were a thing and made of paper. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Greta and Jonathan, who are writers at USA Today. And they say, quote, all US Forever 21 shops are set to close. Here's what shoppers should know. Here you can see one of their former iconic stores, in theory. A couple of the old founders. And it looks like, yeah, Forever 21. I mean, we'll see if they're sued for false advertising. They said Forever 21. Should have saw that one coming, though. I mean, very few things last forever except maybe taxes and Glocks. But that's about it. But in all seriousness, diving into the article, they say, quote, more than 350 Forever 21 stores are expected to be closed by the start of May, following the fashion company's Chapter 11 bankruptcy filing in March. All of Forever 21's 354 leased stores in the U.S. are to close, court documents obtained by USA Today show. Many began closing doors as early as April 1st. Forever 21's operator, F21 OpCo, which a little boring of a company name, but I guess it gets the point, previously said that if a buyer were to come forward with interest in the brand, store closures could and would be paused. However, they were unable to find any potential buyer of the company. Now, Jared Weber, the global president for lifestyle at Authentic Brands, said, quote, Forever 21 is the most recognizable names in fast fashion. It is a global brand rooted in the US with strong future ahead. He also said that retail is changing, and like many brands, Forever 21 is adopting to create the right balance across stores, commerce, and wholesale. Neither Forever 21 nor F21 operating company immediately responded for comment about the store closures when contacted by USA Today. And it looks like even the gift cards are good until April 15th, and even, yeah, so long past. And they're wondering, like, why is this going for bankruptcy? I mean, long story short, unfortunately, consumer preferences shifted. They didn't adopt fast enough. And I can't help but think it did not help that most of the brick and mortar retail establishments were in malls, like right next door to Aeropostale and what are the other companies in there? Abercrombie and Fitch, all the overpriced clothing stores. But yeah, it's one of those things where you have mass competition in fashion, one of the most difficult cutthroat industries, I would argue, bar none. And a lot of people are want those cheap Chinese goods. They're buying them through Shein and other websites. They're buying directly from the manufacturer for pennies on the dollar. And I just don't think they pivoted or adapted well enough. I mean, I'm definitely not their ideal client to think about one thing in high school, and it's probably lasted decades. So definitely not their ideal client. So, I mean, I just don't know anyone who still buys Forever 21. But let me know, do you think they'll be missed? And do you think anyone is going to try to buy the intellectual property? It's always worth something. Even Blockbuster.com was bought by, Blockbuster was bought by Dish.com in part because of the customer data. And you could argue maybe the brand identity, though they haven't done much with it. But do you think it's worth just buying the name Forever 21, the customer data, and launching an e-commerce only instead of having brick and mortar? And do you even think that might be viable as a business plan? I mean, when's the last time you actually shopped at Forever 21? Let me know in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Going over to the Cultural Prod podcast, you have Shiloh Hendrix going viral for calling alleged child or thief and child the N-word and being doxxed and threatened on social media and raising hundreds of thousands of dollars since that moment on Give Send Go. And it only seems to be going up like a stock. Well, I should clarify, a stock, a couple years ago. And these days, stocks not so much going up, but not financial advice. Now, this is going all over on X. One of the first places that I saw it, at least on my timeline on X, or formerly known as Twitter, is from James Goddard. And he says, quote, "This is Shiloh Hendrix. Protect her. Non-whites are making out that she's murdered someone. All she did was protect her child like any mother would. Good to see the community coming together and raising funds so she and her family can stay safe. Cry harder, African Americans," unquote, as this has devolved into cultural and political issue, and it's going viral with visceral reactions all over. And also, again, reacting to his, I'll play the clip in a short second, but I mean, he said he's protecting her child. Yeah, she did tell the kid who was stealing from her, I do have to say allegedly, to stop it, but she also called the kid the N-word. So I don't think the average parent would do that. I mean, the average parent might say, get out, or not get, but like stop that, or, might give him a slap on the wrist or something to that effect. But I mean, it's going viral because she's much more bombastic with her language than the average parent would. And I was going to say, though they didn't say it in the description, she is white. Now, without too much further ado, it's about 49 seconds. Then I should say audio disclaimer that she uses very blunt, obviously aggressive language, dropping the N-word multiple times, which is the forbidden word, just like in Harry Potter. You can't say the V word. Though I'll say it. I might get canceled today, folks. This might be the last episode. I'll say Voldemort. You didn't come back. In the books, you always say you die, but I'm only partially kidding. It's one of those things where, in the United States especially, ironically, we're called racist all the time. I always say capitalism defeated racism decades ago, but one of those instances where, every time there's a real racism, more often than not, you lose your job, your family, your friends, your social circle, everything, which is where I would say, it's obvious that the U.S. is not racist. But I partially digress. She is playing at the park with her kiddo, and this guy comes up to record her, and she leans into it.
Call him a nigger, the child?
The fuck you talking
Did you
about?
call the child the nigger word?
None of your fucking business.
It is my own business. You call him a nigger?
No.
Okay, why don't you have the balls to say it right now again?
Fuck you, nigger.
Okay.
Nigger.
All right, that's what you say.
You don't go digging through people's shit, you dumb fuck.
Nobody dig into your shit.
A little fucking kid just did, you dumbass.
That little kid, you call him a nigger?
Yeah.
The little child?
What if he acts like one, he's gonna do
Are you
all
about
of
to
it.
hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the right to call the child, 5-year-old, a nigger, the N-word.
If that's what he's gonna act
That's
like.
what you're gonna call him.
That's what he's gonna act like.
That's a hate speech. And you can be recorded for that.
I don't give a shit.
Did he say you'd be deported for that? What? Let me rewind that. Rewind that for a New York minute there. Like me trying to stutter or repeat my words. Apologies. Again, click the subscribe button. It might help with my speaking up to. As I first started the show, no one tuned in. Well, maybe family from time to time. But as I've got more subscribers, I've become slowly better at speaking. I might argue it's a modicum of improvement. Statistically, very little, but I would argue still technically an improvement. So click that button. Really appreciate it.
That's a hate speech. And you can be recorded for that.
I don't give a shit.
Huh.
Fuck off.
Okay, we'll see about that, what the internet has to say about you.
And
Call him a nigger,
the internet has not shut up since. Going viral for not just days, but going on almost a week plus now. And this went alone, this individual person posting got about 750,000 views and 15,000 likes. And the comments are highly entertaining, but incredibly inappropriate. So definitely want to not have the kiddos listening to this part of the show. Now, one of the first comments comes to us thanks to Jose saying, "Can you please explain why you support her rationally?" And he was ratioed, though I don't think in a good way. So that got 51 likes. James Goddard simply responded saying she's white. And that got, geez Louise, got 744 likes, which is not a good way. It's definitely, in my opinion, not a good way, not a good reason to support her. I mean, I would argue that you would support her because, you're worried that she's been doxxed. I think that's one of the biggest variables of why people are contributing to her GoFundMe campaign. That, again, is, geez Louise, I can't imagine making so much money. It blows my mind how hard the average American works. Then people make hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars on GoFundMe. It blows my mind, but geez Louise, I understand why some people are donating. myriad of reasons, but I think partially because she's been, since this moment, doxxed and threatened. When doxxed is when someone releases your personal data in terms of where do you live physically, what's your information about your family. I believe her social security number has also been leaked. James Goddard also simply had a yawning emoji getting 357 likes. Now, I'm not trying to butcher these names. I'm not the best at this pronunciation, but I'll attempt it. Abdal Ibrahim says, quote, "No, she's disgusting for abusing that little child. What kind of parent hurls racist abuse towards a child? I remember when I was 9, some white woman called me a black bastard in the supermarket. My mom even ended up pushing her. If everyone abused my child, I'd knock him out cold," which, again, going to physical violence would make the situation worse, because I would argue just going to fuel the hate. Where, again, if you actually want to win over hearts and minds with people and build community and all that kind of stuff, it's usually just hanging out with people, get to know each other, not to be too melodramatic or hopelessly hoping for good things. Now, James responded, and he ratioed this person. They got 105 likes. James said, "Mate, the kid stole her stuff. What would you do?" Getting 487 likes. We also have Dr. Nicole Prouse saying, "Here's a link where you can complain to GoFundMe," to, basically ask them to take it down. James responded saying, "Oh, F off, you wench," getting 122 likes. They're also, and again, we're still waiting for this to be confirmed, but a lot of people are posting an article of Muhammad Hossein and Sharmik Balii Omar, and they claim that the men that were recording the video were actually having a background of, well, hurting children. So that's another question people are asking is, well, who are these people recording this video? Again, some people are posting that. They're getting between about 50 to 100 likes. Still not, we still don't have confirmation. We'll wait for it. Idaho Eagle says, quote, "Most Americans are tired of black people and their 'I'm a victim' BS and your racist BS. We're sick to death of it. We're tired of your whining and complaining about always playing the victim card or the race card. F you," getting 178 likes, which, in this case, she actually did say the N-word. Not that I think anything's justified by that gentleman trying to basically destroy her life and dox her. Oh, I'm sorry. We don't know if they were the individuals who specifically doxed her yet. Now, you also have Code Unknown saying, "That's not all she did, though, is she? I'm assuming the mothers around the world would be able to protect their children without racially abusing something," getting 5 likes. Big Buffa says, "Fully support to this mom. She's doing what any responsible parent would do. Society's collapsing into chaos where parental authority and basic order mean nothing. Enough while with normalizing disrespect, violence, and zero accountability. Someone needs to bring that back, the discipline." Getting 25 likes, which, again, if she said, I'm trying to think of something that would be pejorative but not so bombastic. Even if you said, called a kid, you shouldn't do this, but, even if you called him, a little shit or something like that, if she didn't, I'm sure she'd still be roasted on social media regardless of what she said, but the fact that she said the N-word is why it's going viral. It's why so many people are obsessing with the story. If she, again, I think she probably could have handled it another way. Obviously, she should have just told the kid, "Hey, stop stealing," if that is in fact what happened. You also have Bribey saying, quote, "No, you don't speak to children this way. You've lost me," getting 11 likes, which, yeah. Now, going to the GoFundMe, and God, this is depressing. In terms of, I can't be the only one working over 100 hours a week. Maybe I am in this audience, but yeah, I was going to say, imagine working, going to office 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week. In a couple days, she raised, geez Louise, let's reload the page. Goes up like a stock. It goes like NVIDIA stock a couple years ago when it was going to the moon, which, God, hindsight's always 20 when it comes to investing. She's already raised about $370,000, which, gosh, that's a pretty penny. Which, again, if you need to relocate your family, have private security. Now, she literally called it "Help Me Protect My Family." And she says, quote, "Help protect my family. Hello, my name is Shiloh, and I've been put into a very dire situation. I recently had a kid steal from my 18-month-old son's diaper bag at the park. I called the kid out for what he was." Oh, jeez. Adding, I was going to say that's going to piss off a lot of people. Because, again, as a kid, you shouldn't be calling, obviously, you should be calling the kid the N-word. And she says, "Another man who we recently found out had a history with law enforcement proceeded to record me and follow me to my car. He then posted these videos online, which caused my family and myself great turmoil. My social security number has been leaked. My address and phone number have been given out freely. My family members are being attacked. My eldest child may not be able to go back to school. Even where I exercise has been exposed." She says, "I'm asking for help to assist in protecting my family. I fear that we must relocate. I have 2 small children who do not deserve this. We have been threatened to the extreme by people online. Anything will help. We cannot and will not live in fear. Thank you. And again, this is going so viral. And yeah, so much capital. And let me see here. We'll read a couple of these donations. Someone by the name of Nunya. I was actually surprised. Why is their last name not Nunya? Why is it not concerned? But nevertheless, Mr. Nunya says, quote, sending support from a Scottish guy living in Texas. Love how you turned around and said it right to his face. Oh, Jesus. He says, you got Northern European warrior blood. No likes, but he gave her $20. Trying to find the ones that have. What's the top donations? $1,000? I can't imagine having so much. Well, I was about to say, I can't imagine I've donated like my tech company is donated to, I would argue, like good, appropriate nonprofits and initiatives like thousands, but I can't imagine as an individual, as an anonymous, giving $1,000. That's the top one, $1,000, and they say, quote, we are all fatigued, getting 1,096 likes. Another one's did 1,000, got 583 likes. Dan, oh Jesus. Parody account probably because it's Dan Schneider, who's the inappropriate SOB from Nickelodeon, allegedly. It says $1,000. He says 1L all the way, came 528 likes. Anonymous donor says ticker is hashtag shy on Solana. Oh, that sounds like a scam. I don't know what TKND means, but they paid $1,000 to say that, getting 378 likes. Let's see here. This is, again, I don't agree with these, but it's one of the top ones, so I'll say it. Eugene Kumasiak says, quote, don't ever apologize. Blacks will still hate you, and groveling hurts whites. You probably do need to plan for the state of Minnesota to punish you for using your forbidden word. You're obviously tough, so you can handle it, and you'll find people like me who will support a white person in an anti-white system. So here's your legal defense fund if you ever need it. Person gave $1,000. He got 478 likes. Another one just said, God bless you and your son, getting 939 likes. Jeez Louise. Anonymous donor says, sending you love and strength, getting 872 likes. Is this the same person? Okay, that's another one. This is from Elijah Schaefer, says, sending my personal support. We are all fatigued and know that rather than changing their behavior, minorities insist on trying to please our words, which, I mean, I'm Cuban. I don't do that shit. Kind of a blanket statement there. I expect nothing less than animal behavior for the dredges of society. Understand protective nature you have for your baby. Stay safe. Email me if you need any help. You'll get through this. They got 2,611 likes. And that person donated $650. What the heck? Some of these are just so weird. Anonymous donor says, from the Jews, thank you for standing up to Charvettes. Got one of the top liked comments, got 1,117 likes. I was going to say, by the time I reload this page, I'm sure the donation will go up again. Yeah, just past $370,000. Which, geez Louise, yeah. So, as crazy as it sounds, I think this will be one of the top developing stories, culturally speaking, in the United States. And she's also Minnesota, which, if you look at the demographic changes of Minnesota, it's kind of funny. People think it's a white, like, the cliche Minnesota guy from How I Met Your Mother. What was the guy's name? I forget the actor. But, I mean, that's what people think about Minnesota, but there's actually been one of the biggest influxes of Somalians over the past couple of years. That's why they changed their flag in Minnesota from their once historically beautiful flag to the rudimentary design knockoff of the Somalian flag, which looks about as good as a kindergarten scribble. But nevertheless, they changed the flag because their state is changing. So it'll be interesting to see how this works out at the end of the day. But let me know your comments. I mean, people are obviously making this racial, it's political, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't think, like, legally speaking, I don't think she'll need a defense fund in terms of, oh, it's Minnesota, so maybe they will come after her for something type of hate speech. But yeah, let me know what you think the future will be. Do you think she'll actually reach now? She raised the goal. Now she has $1 million goal for this GoFundMe. Do you think she'll hit that goal? And then what do you think will be the fallout? Let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting cultural news, you have Matt Walsh going viral because he's saying that gays should not be able to adopt. In his recent interview with Tucker Carlson, as youth might say, based, he is wearing, of course, the cliche, well, was it the trad man or Chad? Flannel shirt. Though I would argue all good men always suit up, but that's just me. This is credited to Tucker Carlson Network, hashtag TCN Network on X. And he's, well, it's a question before, but it says, should gay couples be able to adopt? Matt Walsh and Tucker Carlson discuss. And, well, shoot, his voice is infinitely better than mine. So it's only about a second long without too much further ado.
Gay adoption. This isn't the only argument against it, but I think it is a worthwhile argument. There's never been a society anywhere on earth, anywhere period, where they have had two men in a romantic relationship starting a family. That's never existed. It's always been a man and a woman start a family, or in certain ancient civilizations and even some primitive ones today, you might have a man and several women. You might have polygamy.
That's a pretty common feature, I would say.
Common, certainly common. Yeah. But you never had, and why do you have polygamy? I don't support polygamy, but there was a logic to it, especially in ancient times.
Yes.
You got to create people. And the whole point of the family is to make children and care for them. A family that's headed up by two gay men it's an abomination. It's just,
it never happened before, and now it's happening, and that's why we call it progress, right? This is progress. It's something that's never been done.
Yeah. It's progress in the way that cancer progresses.
Now, the real question is this Matt Walsh's last public appearance as the Daily Wire employee? I say that because the Daily Wire, the amount of people that speak on, well, I was going to say their talent pool is becoming less and less diverse, so to say, as they, lost Candace Owens, then famously they lost Brett Cooper. Matt is the most, I don't want to say bombastic, but in terms of going against the mainstream media narrative, and I'd say a big cultural narrative in the United States, Matt Walsh is much more of a contrarian, though what he says is really just mainstream from 1990. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, shoot, our fashion was kind of questionable in the 90s, or as the youth might say now, sus, which I think means suspicious. But nevertheless, there are some people that are viscerally irate, and a lot of the Daily Wire, not colleagues, but their friends, like Dave Rubin at The Blaze. Dave Rubin famously is a gay man who adopted a child with surrogacy, which is one of the main things that Matt Walsh is vehemently against, which is actually becoming more and more common in the United States, where you, not to be too rudimentary, but you rent out a woman's uterus, or you rent out her, try to keep this moderately family friendly, you rent her out and you pay her money and you get a baby at the end, which is also famously what Pete Buttigieg and his husband did as well, which is even more mentally vacuous when you consider they adopt or they pay for surrogacy, and then Pete Buttigieg sat in I forget what you call the maternity beds, but yeah, he sat in the bed as if he delivered it with his husband. He also disappeared from his job for 6 months and no one realized he was gone, showing how useless he is as an employee. But I partially digress. This got about 566,000 views and 1.8 thousand likes. One of the top comments comes to us thanks to Johnny Flyover, saying, quote, "It was a slippery slope from that to surrogate babies, renting out a woman's womb for 9 months and then buying the baby. How is this different from prostitution and child trafficking? Looking at you, Rubin report." Whoa, calling Dave Rubin right out. Which again, Dave Rubin is probably the most famous conservative who's also gay. He's famously has his own daily show on Blaze Media, and that was probably one of the biggest controversies, probably his whole, I would argue maybe his whole career, in terms of really divide the conservative party. A lot of people that, people used to consider, hardcore conservative, they would acquiesce, or maybe people would feel they acquiesce and say, oh no, it's okay that Dave did that, it's all good. But the traditional conservatives, they didn't, which is why I do wonder, is Matt Walsh's time at the Daily Wire more and more coming to an end? Because he's saying more and more things that go against the things that Ben believes in, famously the co-founder of the Daily Wire, and still the top talent by a number of subscribers. You also have the Soy Pill saying, quote, "I would rather have two gay dads than one Matt Walsh." Contrarian statement right off the bat. That got 278 likes. You also have Bing Lens Ben saying, quote, "I have to disagree with Matt Walsh. Having been a court-appointed special advocate for foster kids, a loving home is always a better solution than living in a state care. In Texas, some kids have to sleep with CPS agents' offices because there aren't enough foster families." That got 50 likes, which I'd also argue that argument, or that statement rather, does also make the advocacy of maybe we don't need surrogacy. There's a lot of kids who do need adoption as well. We might argue for another topic for another time, but you also have AB Zig Country saying no nuclear families and children's families and churches need to step up. I got no likes? Really? Poor guy, that was a good point, or it's good. I'll give him a like. Poor SOB got no likes. Like one of my videos, sometimes I get no likes at all. Sometimes I get dislikes, which any constructive feedback is always appreciated. Sean Mackerberry says, quote, "The progress is the way the cancer progresses. That's a great line and completely appropriate here. Getting 53 likes. Fist Punch Skull, guess you know what he does in his free time, says gay couples should not be allowed to adopt a dog. What? Getting 22 likes, which I don't know if that's that topic I didn't know about. Is adopting dogs I mean, I understand why there's like culturally there's a big talk about this, but I know that was a controversy as well. Tom Haggard says, why do gay couples have nicest yards, getting 5 likes? Punk Daddy says they should be able to adopt kittens, getting 10 likes, which, yeah, those things are mostly useless. I don't think anyone cares about cats. They don't even know you exist. But dogs are always better, obviously. Charm Quark says, I don't think this is the most important thing to fight for. If Republicans want to win over and over, don't push away centered and liberal people who are willing to vote red. Our country has been way to worry about than gay couples adopting. 25 likes. Though I would also argue acquiescing from their core principles are why so many people don't like Republicans, because they become rhinos, pejoratively known as Republicans in name only. Same thing with churches. As they try to go more mainstream and move away from their core values and morals, less people started to tune in and donate and go there because they wanted to go for the mass media. They want to go for the mass reach. So many people, a lot of purists, a lot of the people who really believe in the founding ideals of the church, not in a somewhat tangent topic, they stopped going because churches started to preach things that, quite frankly, are going against the Bible. Now, you also have Frontier Brown said, quote, no, there are natural consequences for choices we make, and innocent children should not be thrust into their unnatural choice, getting 18 likes. Actually surprised no one's bringing up the rates of child abuse. But yeah, we'll see it again. Matt Walsh getting roasted a little bit on this post. And I mean, culturally speaking, do you think the average American believes that gays should be able to adopt a child? It is interesting how they always want to adopt boys, but it's one of those things where, yeah, in the 90s, I would argue like no one thought that. I mean, back then, people would always also say, keep it in, no one cares what you do as long as it's in the bedroom. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part podcast, you have NPR saying the Declaration of Independence contains, quote, unquote, offensive language, unquote, which, yeah, of course, I don't think anyone's surprised that these leftists are continuing to push mentally vacuous ideals and demonize what makes America great. Now, scrolling down to the actual post, this is actually reposted by Elon, first posted by Rapid Response 47, saying, quote, NPR subsequently issued an editor's note warning the Declaration of Independence is a document that contains offensive languages. There you can see, yep. The story quotes the Declaration of Independence, a document that contains offensive languages about Native Americans, including racial slurs. Oh no. Now, Elon Musk responded saying, wow, and he got 6 million views. And yeah, hopefully our tax dollars will never fund, NPR again, as, yeah, they don't even employ a single conservative person there. They don't even pretend that they're at all diverse in ideology. Now, one of the first comments comes to us thanks to Cat Turd, saying, quote, so glad Trump just defunded them, getting 10,000 likes. We also have anti-woke memes or anti-woke memes saying, quote, white people, how do you just respond to NPR? And NPR had an article from 2022 saying some people may choose the thumbs up emoji because it feels neutral, but some academics argue opting out of thumbs up emoji signal lacks awareness about white privilege, aka to society, associating whiteness with being raceless. Then they have a bunch of different colored shades of the fist or the thumbs up, getting 62 likes. Planet MMAs finally coming in clutch, as youth might say. They brought a meme. Now, Planet MMA says, quote, NPR, and it says National Propaganda Radio, getting 197 likes, which, fact check, true. Gunther Eagleman simply says NPR's trash, and he got, 517 likes. Paul Zupa says, couldn't be happier, NPR's defunded, getting 79 likes. Which, yeah, how much have our money have they stolen from us throughout the years? Sarah Smith says, absolutely ridiculous, NPR, and it says defund National Public Radio, clearly biased far left media, getting 158 likes. And again, it's one of those things where it's even more far left than big tech, which, again, when we look at the political donations of people who work at like the Googles, the Microsofts, the Apples, it's usually like 98% left or Democrat donations. Like even they have a couple like libertarians and Republicans who work there. Yet NPR had 0, which is literally impossible to happen naturally. That's only done intentionally. So it's glad that NPR is finally getting defunded. And yeah, I think a lot of people are just fed up. They don't believe them anymore. But let me know your thoughts and comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now going over to the business blunder of the day, you have the Ford Bronco being recalled yet again, now 15 times. Now this is brought to us thanks to specifically, in terms of the specific article, well, I actually have 2 things here. By Road and Track, Now, going to the statistics on, well, what's been recalled thus far? Probably easier to make a list of what things in the car haven't broken yet. Sorry, SUV. Now, this is just from Grok, or the AI from Twitter. They say, quote, Ford Bronco has had at least 15 recalls for various model years based on available data from sources like the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration, Ford's official recall site, and other support reports. So far, they've recalled the rear shock absorbers, the engine intake valves, rear quarter glass panels, child safety lock, seatbelt latch, steering gear, rear view camera, transmission bolt, thread label, child safety lock malfunction, windshield detachment, fuel injector leaks, 12-volt battery issues, steering gear, flickering parking lamp, brake caliper issue. So, I can't believe people bought these things, but yeah, 15 recalls. Now, the latest one. Looks like, whoops, now the camera's not working. Now, again, this is credited to Road and Track, and they say, quote, Ford recalls 289,000 Broncos F-Series pickups, other models for backup camera problems. I'm sorry, I should put a official disclaimer. You're going to have to see a Ford product on the screen. Ugh, it's disgusting. I'm only partially kidding. It doesn't look like the worst Ford product, though that's low bar. And they say, quote, the federal mandated safety feature isn't working correctly for a wide swath of truck and SUV owners. Wah, wah. And they say, quote, Ford's been on something of a recall roll in the past couple months, is now issues with backup cameras have become the least of the span of issues requiring vehicles to return home to the dealer to fix it. Specifically, hundreds of thousands of Broncos, F-Series, Expeditions, Lincolns struggle with blank, distorted, or simply broken images for the rear view cameras. The precise number of Ford included at the National Highway Traffic Administration recall sits at 289,618 units. Jeez Louise. You know, it affects all the major products, including the Ford F-150, which is, again, I would say their Halo, not their Halo car, but it's the vehicle that people associate with most of the brand, and it's where they make most of their profit. And they say that Ford's Burley pickups and Expedition lines are being recalled for the backup cameras as well. They can actually display intermittent blank or distorted images due to the corrosion of the terminal header connector. They say the piece is internal to the camera and can easily lead to a loss of rear view image, while explaining in the National Highway Safety Traffic Administration filing. Ford says it can trace the issue back to a damaged solder reflow over the first tier supplier, to an unauthorized change to the camera's print circuit board terminal header tooling by the camera inspect. There will be no warning when the issue arises, recall filings explain. Whoops. Well, that's not great. They say the recall connected to the Ford Broncos lineup is manifested in a similar way, but the root issue is a bit different. Of course. They explain that the loss of the rearview camera image on select Broncos is associated with fretting corrosion on internal camera connector, specifically on the tin-plated contact surfaces. Plus, Ford says that some of the internal connectors were misaligned during the manufacture process, resulting in degraded surface connectivity and loss of video frames. There will also be no warning when this breaks. Jeez Louise. So I was going to say, at this point, what left is there to say? Again, they've had 40 recalls this year, more than any other company, with a record 5 recalls in a single day. Granted, one of those recalls is like 250 units, pretty negligible, but still technically counts as a recall. So I gotta say, Ford, having yet another recall, especially with your most important, profitable vehicles, gotta say, Ford, you are certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.